For the past year now, I've made my podcast with a company called Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free. That's right, it doesn't cost you anything to make your own podcast. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your own podcast right from the computer or your own phone. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other place. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's really easy. You'll have your podcast up and running in no time. Go to Anchor. Welcome to Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris. Every week I'll discuss a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we accumulate check-ins and our badges. Some weeks I'll feature a new beer that has potential to be a classic. Being from Chicago, I'll talk about some local beers I had during the week. I'll add my spin to events of the day. And at the end of the show, I'll call out the jag-offs of the week. This week's beer will be Guinness Stout. Moira, that's Beer in Front coming up next. Welcome to episode 55 of Beer in Front. How is everyone doing? I want to thank everyone again that participated last week in the Your Beer in Front. That was a well-received episode, had a lot of listens, so I want to thank everyone that participated. This week's a good show. I'm having Ruvani De Silva. Now, you may know her as Amethyst Heels on Twitter and Instagram, but this was a great conversation that I had earlier. I'm going to have her on a little bit later on in the podcast. And it's been 2 weeks now since Ruby and I have had our second vaccine and feeling great. You know, we've got great 5G reception now, no matter where we go. So it's 2 weeks. We're really happy about that. I'm going to start taking public transportation again, just licking my hand and touching the pole, giving high fives to everyone. So feeling good about that. And on Friday, finally, and it's been over a year, we're finally going out to eat at a restaurant on Friday. So things are getting back to normal. In beer news this week, the Great American Beer Festival has canceled their 2021 edition. They're still going to have the awards, but the main convention, the main festival, is going to be shut down one more year, and they plan on reopening next year in 2022 for their big 40th anniversary. Last week, the Brewers Association put out their top 50 craft breweries of 2020, and the usual suspects are there. You have some local places like Three Floyds is on there, Revolution, Kings and Convicts / Ballast Point. I guess they're still part of the greater Chicagoland area as well as San Diego. And one that you see him every year, and it kind of surprises me, but I don't know why, but New Glarus is the number 12 craft brewery in the country. And they make some phenomenal beers, don't get me wrong, but they just distribute to Wisconsin. And they're the number 12 craft brewer in the country. So, Wisconsin, you guys drink a lot. All right, welcome back to Beer in Front. I am so happy to have on Ruvani De Silva. Now, you may not know that name, but if you follow anything on social media with craft beer, you know her on Twitter and on Instagram as Amethyst_Heels. Ruvani, thank you so much for coming on. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. It's very, very exciting to be on Beer in Front. It's very hot here in Texas. We're heading into a proper summer. I don't know if you can see behind me. So we're moving into lighter beer weather. But I'm very jealous of your Pipeworks Black is Beautiful. That looks absolutely cracking.
This is fantastic, and I I happened to see they had a few left, and I don't believe I've had this one before out of all of the Black is Beautiful. So I'm like, all right, I'll have to try this. And this is terrific. The cinnamon here is outstanding.
Oh, lovely. They're a Chicago brewery I have so much time for. And one day when I get back up in that part of the world, I will definitely be checking out their tap room.
Yeah, I've seen before, like you check in, you've had a lot of revolution. So we'll definitely, once this is over, I'll see if I could find one more of these. I could send it out your way.
Oh, that would be in.
Yeah. Now, for those that aren't familiar with you, I mean, you're all over social media, you are a writer, you have, as far as I know, 3 different web pages for your writing. Can you tell people a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you?
I write mostly about beer, but I also write a lot about culture, diversity, how all of these things intersect. I do a lot of writing for the Beer is for Everyone Writers Collective. I'm also part of the Porch Drinking Writers Collective and do a lot of articles for them. I've had articles in Good Beer Hunting, Texas Highways, and hopefully I'll be having something in Pellicle soon for UK listeners. I'm also doing some pieces for the Camera Learning and Development website. I love Camera. I've been a Camera member for many, many, many years now, and regular volunteer at Great British Beer Festival in normal times. I've been living in Austin since 2017. I moved here from London, where I used to run beer tours as well as helping out with Camera and beer charity events. And I started writing after I'd been here for a little bit over a year, checking out as many breweries as I possibly could. And I just got so excited by the Austin beer scene. And I felt that people didn't know enough about it. And there wasn't enough information available about just specific breweries, how to get around, really where to go outside the city as well, that's easy to travel to. So I thought I would just start off writing about that. And a lot of stuff that's way beyond that, which is pretty cool.
Now, for those, if you're going to Austin, and hopefully everything opens up soon, the website where you list all your Austin breweries, that's craftbeeramethyst.com, correct?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's great information. I wish I would have known that before I went there with my wife a couple of years ago. I would have avoided certain places and hit a few other places. So that's craftbeeramethyst.com. Like, one question, like when you came here, when everybody hears you talk, do they like assume you know the royals and you know everything?
Actually, you'd be surprised. Apparently, there's a lot of British people in Austin. We don't know them, but they're often told, I just met a British person the other day, you know. So we're not as rare here as we might be, certainly when we go to other smaller towns, when we travel, we definitely get a lot more attention with our accents there. We have a couple of British friends here, but I think that Austin these days, especially with all the tech community coming here, we're not as rare as you might think. Although, yeah, in beer circles, perhaps more so.
Yeah. So you don't have corgis running around or anything like that.
I wish
Yeah.
that we did. I love animals. So again, anyone who sees my Twitter feed would know that.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of Brits knocking around here, but Austin is a really, really great place to live. So I understand why.
Have you always, like, even growing up, have you always been into beer? And like, do you remember your first craft beer where that like flipped a switch? Like, oh, I need to be into this. Do you remember what your first craft beer was?
It's a slightly different question for me, having sort of grown up in the UK. Obviously, I mean, I drank beer, everybody does growing up, but what really got me fully engaged with beer as an art form really was my first visit to the Great British Beer Festival, which was back in 2005. The Great British Beer Festival, for anyone who doesn't know, is run by Camera. They are the campaign for Real Ale. So at that time, that was really promoting cask ale, English traditional cask ale. But yeah, I fell in love with it. I was drinking more wine really before that. I was very nerdy about wine. I actually have a wine qualification. But I went there and I just saw the range and the variety of beer available from all over the UK. And I was just like, wow, there's so much possibility here. There's so much excitement. There's so many people who really care about this and are putting so much love into creating so many different unique products. And after that, I really started nerding out about beer. Craft beer came later. We didn't have craft beer in the UK in a meaningful way that long ago.
I think when I was there, I don't even know if they still make it. I think I was drinking Tennant's Lager, if that's
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a better. Yeah, but I believe they're still going. Now I got into craft beer. I started visiting the US regularly as part of my job, and around 2009, 2010, I fell upon Sierra Nevada,
Okay.
Lagunitas, Rogue. They just had all this stuff in New York. You go to the store and the corner shop, and there would be all these beers in the fridge. I said, okay, I'll try it. These look very interesting. They've got very nice labels. They're very pretty, aren't they? And then I tasted them, and I was like, yeah, I want this. I want this all the time. Give me this. All of this, the hoppiness, the bitterness, just the clean, resiny, smack you in the face. And we didn't have anything really like that at home. So when it did start to come over in a meaningful way, I would track down every pub in London that served American craft beer. And of course, soon we started making our own, that was fantastic. It was, big news. And now London has over 120 breweries, which is amazing.
All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, Austin, I mean, that is such a big beer scene. I mean, it's right up there with your Portlands of the world and Chicago and out west. I mean, Austin is a huge craft beer community. What are your favorite breweries there? And is there like one particular beer that would be your go-to? Like if somebody were to come into Austin, you would tell them you have to have this beer.
First, I'm very glad that you see the scene here in that way. That's really one of the things that I want to make people aware about, is that this really is a beer destination these days. It's incredible. Even during the pandemic, we still had new breweries opening every couple of months. The passion for beer here is immense, and people really, really want to have their own local breweries that they love. They want to travel and go to sort of different areas of the city and Central Texas to drink beer. It's a really, really exciting time to be in the Austin beer scene. So it should definitely be considered up there with the big beercation destination.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad that you're on board with that. It's very difficult to pick one beer or one brewery, because as the weather changes, as the seasons change, you want different things. And what you're eating, you want different things, all sorts of factors in play. But there are obviously certain breweries that I visit very, very, very regularly, and whom I feel that the city wouldn't be the same without. Austin Beer Works is one. They're one of the most long-standing breweries in the city. They kill it across absolutely every style. Summer, winter, you can always get something that will suit your mood there. Blue Owl, who kettle sour almost all their beers, are very, very dear to my heart. Again, we're there almost every week. They have such a wonderful gamut of super, super exciting sour styles. Everything from a Czech Pilsner to an oatmeal stout that I love. Vista Brewing are just killing it doing European Belgian style beers. They're Lambic, they're Oberon, they're just superb. They're really, really such high quality of such a difficult and complex brewing system to master. So there's a lot going on. My neighbours, Live Oak, do some of the best lagers, pilsners in the state. It's a very, very exciting place to be drinking beer.
How has Austin been? Because I mean, they've lost, with the pandemic, South by Southwest, Austin city limits. How has, the city been? Are they recovering, or, I mean, right now South by Southwest would have just happened a couple of weeks ago, wouldn't it?
It's a very, very tough time for this city because so much of its income comes from entertainment, hospitality, tourism, music, and all the associated industries, food and drink, hotels. It has been very, very tough on the city. I mean, there's no a way around that because so many people's livelihoods have been devastated, and reopening is hopefully going to bring a lot of people back, and I'm really hope that there's going to be a significant turnaround. Our breweries have not done as badly as a lot of places. We have the Texas Craft Brewers Guild who have fought tirelessly to really galvanize support for the local breweries, to get everyone buying independent, getting out there, making sure that our breweries could keep going even when it was to go only. So that's been a really powerful force that's helped keep the beer industry alive here. But we had a new brewery called Vacancy open just a few days ago. It's still really positive in that regard. But in terms of the rest of the city, yes, it's been hard. So we're looking forward to people coming back. Come back as soon as you can, as soon as it's safe, please.
Well, hopefully my wife and I can get out there again soon. A couple of buddies of mine, we were thinking about maybe going next March, the week after South by Southwest. So hopefully I will be making an appearance there soon and get to try all of your breweries. And I will definitely go to craftbeeramethyst.com first to have a nice printout of every place I should go to.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say. But frankly, anyone listening, if you want some advice, just hit me up on social media. Tell me what beers you like. I will happily provide you with a tailored list of recommendations based on what you like. I'm just happy to help, to get involved, meet up, anything. That's a standing offer for any of your listeners.
Well, I know, following you on social media, between you and your husband, Justin, if you ever want to adopt a 53-year-old man, I will be your son. If you need a tax write-off and you need to adopt someone, I will volunteer because you guys are out every day. I'm like, look at them. I mean, so yes, if you need to adopt a son, I'm volunteering.
Well, thank you. We will bear that in mind. Yeah. And I definitely try to get to as much as possible. Lockdown was very, very hard for someone like me who just really likes being out. So really, really appreciating coming out of COVID. I think that it's a new lease of life. You're appreciating everything again from scratch almost. It's like, oh, look at this, look at that. So that's pretty special.
Okay, so Ruvani, I thank you so much again for coming on. Now, if people do want to follow you on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, you're at Amethyst_heels. And for anything craft beer related, they could find you at craftbeeramethyst.com, correct?
That's right. My non-beery blog is culturalcuckoo.com, but for most of my writing for other publications like Good Beer Hunting, Beer is for Everyone, Craft Beer Austin, and Porch Drinking, my real name, Ruvani de Silva, is the best place to look. But all my articles are featured on my social media, and I hope that people will find all my intersectional work on beer, diversity, culture. It really, interesting, and enjoy, please.
Excellent. Well, Ruvani, thank you so much again on this National Beer Day. Thank you for coming on.
It is, and happy National Beer Day to you too, Dave. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, I had some really good beers this week. I had, based on the recommendation from Cider Brian in last week's show, I had the Melded from Uncle John's, and that was fantastic. If you're not a fan of ciders, I would definitely check this one out. It was really good. Try to find it. It was a decent price. I think it was $5.99 for a 500 milliliter bottle. Definitely pick up Melded from Uncle John's. And I had a Casa Humilde beer. Go figure. I had their Tempestad. Now, this was a coconut imperial stout that was really good as well. Once again, Casa Humilde, they never disappoint. I've had Bodum before from Half Acre in just regular cans, but I've never had it on tap. So I picked up a growler over the weekend from Half Acre, and that was even better out of the growler than it is out of the can. So, once things open, if you're in the area, definitely pick up Bodum, just a classic old school IPA from Half Acre. Now, I had two from Hop Butcher that I didn't even think I was going to get. I kind of fell asleep at the wheel last week and totally missed the Hop Butcher release. But when I went to pick up Guinness, the beer in front, when I went to just my local liquor store, they had them there and they weren't sold out. Alsace, that was a French Pilsner from Hop Butcher, and I also had Coarse Grind Hustle. This was an imperial stout with coffee and toffee, and both were phenomenal. I enjoyed the Pilsner. I thought that was really good. Some different hops in there. And then the Coarse Grind Hustle was sweet, but it was balanced out with the coffee, super carbonation. I loved both of those beers from Hop Butcher. The last beer I want to talk about was a great one. This was from Pipeworks, and they collaborated with legendary Chicago. It's a great Italian grocer. They make phenomenal sandwiches. J.P. Graziano. They made an Italian Pilsner called Alla Salute. If you see this one, pick it up. Now, I know you've heard me talk about before that I'm really into Italian Pilsners lately. This was excellent. It was a little more, for me, it was a little more malt forward than others, but you had the good hop bitterness at the end. Really good beer. I think they're already sold out from Pipeworks itself. So if you happen to see it at Promiscuous or your local bottle shop in the Chicago area, if you're into Pilsners, I definitely recommend Alla Salute. The beer in front of me this week, and I'm really going old school with this, is just your basic old school Guinness draught. Now, lately it seems like they're jumping on the barrel aged train and everything else, and they're starting to make coffee and cold brew coffee and everything else, but this is just your basic Guinness draught that you could find anywhere. This has been around for a gazillion years. I know I probably should have had it a few weeks ago closer to St. Patrick's Day, but I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I didn't think about it until last week, so today I'm going to have the Guinness. Oh, that's perfect. That just has that great creamy pour to it. Has a great color. I know everyone thinks, or non-beer people think, that Guinness is super dark, and it is a dark beer, but it's not jet black like some imperial stouts. It's actually more of a really dark brown, dark red color to it. Like I said, it's super creamy with the nitrogen widget that they have in the can. It's almost like drinking milkshake. Yeah, that's really smooth. You get the roasted malts on this. It has that Guinness tang at the end to it. So there's a little tang. I don't know what the technical term for it. It's not the all astronauts drink it tang, but it's the definite Guinness tang. This is just a really good beer, and you know why it's been around since the brewery itself, St. James, has been around since 1759? Now, the beer that I'm drinking now, this Guinness, and the one that everyone has had over the years a million times. This has been around since 1959. It was to celebrate the 9,000-year lease that Arthur Guinness signed at the St. James Brewery, and it was the 200-year anniversary of that. So this current version of Guinness has been around since 1959. Now, doing some research on Guinness itself to talk about it, I went to their website, and I also picked up a really good book that's called In Search of God and Guinness, The Search for God and Guinness, and it was written by an author named Stephen Mansfield. If you do see this book, I would pick it up. There was some really good information there that, I just didn't know, and I'll share a couple tidbits with you here. It reminds me almost of the Pierre Celis story. When Arthur Guinness first went to Dublin, he carried yeast with him. And now this strain of yeast is still in use today for Guinness 250 plus years later. So we're still drinking beer using the same yeast from 1759. So that was a pretty cool tidbit. Also, I didn't know that 1860, they started distributing their beer to as far as Australia and South Africa. And the one book we've all read, or at least I did, and maybe people of my generation did, the Guinness Book of World Records, this came out as like a free publicity book to help settle bar bets. So, and this grew to enormous success. And I remember as a kid, and I'm 53, so I think, people more my age really look forward to getting the new Guinness Book of World Records. But this was initially done as just a publicity thing, as a free giveaway for, bars and people drinking in a bar so they could settle bar bets. So I thought that was pretty cool as well. The one thing that I knew, and I'm not sure a lot of non-beer drinkers know this, but, Guinness, you think of this dark beer and you think this is super heavy and super high in alcohol, but it's only slightly higher in calories and alcohol than a Miller Lite. It is not a heavy beer whatsoever. And there's Moira Rose barking in the background. I don't think she knew that Guinness was so light and she got excited about it. But anyway, back to the book and the story of Guinness. You should pick up both of them. The book itself I thought was really good, and the beer itself is excellent. And there's a reason why it's 250 some years old, or the reason the current version we're drinking has been around since 1959. It's a classic beer. It finishes as good as it starts, or as it started when I first poured it. And I couldn't tell you when the last time I had a Guinness was, but I'll definitely add this to the rotation. It has a great price point. I don't remember if it was on sale or not, but I picked up a 4-pack of the cans for $8, so it's definitely reasonably priced. If you see a Guinness and you haven't had one in a while, still a good beer. Check it out.
How long have you been in the Navy?
Oh, me blow midlife.
I'm Jamie Britt.
And I'm Heath Britt.
And together we are E14. We have 40 years of naval service.
And each week we discuss a potpourri of topics, which we like to call smoke pit topics.
These are real world topics that concern us, our marriage, and our Navy with a sailor twist.
So join us each week as we dive into the deep end.
Booyah!
Check out the E14 podcast wherever you listen. All right, it's everyone's favorite segment. You haven't heard it in 2 weeks. It's the Jagoffs of the Week. And I know it's Ted Cruz and Ron DeSantis and Matt Gaetz. They're low-hanging fruit. It's easy to pick on them every week, and I feel like a broken record. But they make it so easy. Sweaty Teddy, Rafael Cruz, they want to cancel culture Major League Baseball for moving the All-Star game out of Atlanta. And, Rafi wants to tweet, hashtag go woke, go broke. Ted, your dog whistle's not quite working. If you really want the dog whistle to get all of your constituents, your racist constituents, don't just use the word woke. You need to use thug and cancel culture. But wait, you want people to boycott MLB for moving the all? Wait, you want to cancel culture somebody for cancel culture? Ted, you're a jagoff. Lauren Boebert, another, speaking of low-hanging fruit, Lauren Boebert tweets on the attack at the Capitol that there's no amount of gun laws would have stopped today's attack on our Capitol, which involved a car and a knife. Did you stop and think for a second, Lauren, that maybe the only reason why this person had just a knife is because there are gun laws in Washington, D.C.? Jagoff. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot said that the city won't open the vaccine to everyone 16 and older along with the rest of the state due to a quantum leap in coronavirus cases. So there's a leap in cases and you're going to prohibit people from getting the vaccine. Lori, you're a jagoff. Racist piece of garbage. Congressman from North Carolina, Greg Murphy. Now, he replied to Representative Ilhan Omar, who tweeted out that she was heartbroken to learn that another member of the Capitol Police was killed, and it would have been worse if the assailant had an AR-15 instead of a knife. And this racist, yes, I said it, and I'll say it again, Congressman Greg Murphy, you are a racist. This piece of shit said that, oh, well, it would have been worse if they'd been flying planes into buildings. You know what, Congressman? You're a jagoff. You're a racist jagoff. Why did you delete the tweet, prick? I'll just let Senator Steve Daines from Montana speak for himself.
The flood of Mexican meth, Mexican heroin, Mexican fentanyl. 20 years ago in Montana, meth was homemade. It was homegrown.
Sounds like the senator's a little upset that the Mexicans are taking over the Montana meth growers. You're an idiot, you jagoff. The Minnesota Supreme Court reversed a rape conviction because a woman wasn't forced to get drunk. You're all jagoffs. Montana Governor Greg Gianforte, he rescinded the state's mask mandate just weeks after taking office. He's now tested positive for COVID-19. Jagoff. Mitch McConnell seems to be upset that Coke and Delta and Major League Baseball and thousands of other companies, they're opposed to the Georgia voting law. Now, Mitch says that my warning to corporate America is to stay out of politics. I'm not talking about political contributions, so it's okay that they can give you money, but they can't say anything. Mitch, you're a hypocrite, and you're a jagoff. A company called WinRed, W-I-N-R-E-D. Now, they were in charge of collecting donations for the Trump campaign and many other campaigns that were conservative. Now, what WinRed did was people were clicking to donate money to the campaign. And instead of just a one-time campaign, they defaulted it to a recurring donation. So all of these people were duped into thinking, oh, they're donating, whatever they're going to amount. The one story I read was this one gentleman donated $500 to the Trump campaign, and they kept taking money, kept taking $500 at a crack out of this person's account until he was broke. And now financial institutions who deal with complaints, WinRed was up to 3% of volume of fraud. All fraud considered in the United States, credit card fraud, up to 3% was by this one company, WinRed. Someone needs to go to jail for this. I mean, George Floyd was murdered for passing an alleged counterfeit 20, but these people are stealing money from, people, whatever politics you want to, be part of, that's great. That's on you. But you're donating to a campaign, and this company keeps stealing money from you, just hoping that, they'll never ask for it back. You're a bunch of crooks. You're a bunch of jagoffs.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for episode 55 of Beer in Front. I thank everyone for listening. And once again, I want to thank Ruveni De Silva, Amethyst Heels for coming on. That was a fun conversation. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you all next week on Beer in Front.